Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Well, hi. Welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. This is our offer podcast that we do 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would love and appreciate if you would leave us a review and a rating. That would be greatly appreciated. Share it with a friend. Or if you're on the iHeartRadio app, you can always make Miguel and Holly Uncensored as one of your top presets.
That's right.
So you never miss anything, right, Holly?
That's absolutely right. And while you're there, you should put everything Miguel and Holly as a preset, like including Hits 96.1.
Mm-hmm.
So that and the Blown Off podcast and this podcast. And listen, if you do it, it'll be really helpful so that we could all stay employed and then you could have our show.
Yeah.
So please do that.
So,
on the new and improved iHeartRadio app.
Thank you.
Go do that.
Thank you.
Love me. Choose me.
It's a little homework assignment. We don't give you homework often.
Right. And that's even if you listen to the podcast on, Spotify or
Right.
Apple. I know you have the iHeartRadio app.
All new and improved iHeartRadio app. Just here, it's just like you go on it.
Yeah,
like,
Holly, walk us through. How do you do this?
Okay,
Sound
well,
like you got like something behind, like a gun in your back. Like you better promote. You better promote. As I'm wearing an iHeartRadio sweater.
I know. I'm like, I have an
yeah.
iHeartRadio shirt on.
Look, so it's the interface, and then you can go right here. You click a button, and why did I do that? I don't know why this happened accidentally, but I added our grocery store playlist.
Oh. Well, you can do that because we did make that grocery store playlist.
You can do that. Okay, wait. I want to click on this one. No, I already did that one. Get rid of that. Remove. All right, so I'm just gonna go look at here. Let's see. Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Mm-hmm.
Miguel and here it is.
Oh.
And I'm going to put that as preset.
Oh wow.
And now it's a preset.
Oh, see, look at that.
It's pretty easy.
That's all we need you to do. Thank you.
You can fill up all your preset slots with only Miguel and Holly.
Listen, there's one thing I love to do is fill all my slots with Miguel and Holly content.
I know, that's right.
What else do you like to fill your slot with?
Food.
What else?
No.
More food?
Nothing else. Drama.
Yes. I am the drama king, girl. I love it. Oh, I love it. And even people that don't know me that well, they'll be like, here's a funny meme about a tiger looking around a corner and there's drama. This looks like you, Miguel. And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
That's right.
I'm always looking. I found this interesting article that I wanted us to sort of discuss.
Okay.
6 Gen X dating traditions slowly disappearing with younger generations.
Ooh,
Okay.
Got it.
Because I feel like some of these, as I went through the list, and I'm like, some of these I feel like can be millennial ones that maybe Gen Zers or what is the next one? What's like Maya's generation? Gen Alpha. What, especially for them, none of this will probably be in place.
Won't be relevant anymore.
No.
And I appreciate that you said Gen X because we always let them skate under the radar.
Right.
Like it's like we jump from boomers to us, and
Right.
there is a whole generation. Now, granted, it's not as large.
Right,
And maybe
right.
that's why. But there's like a whole lot of people that really need to be accounted for, like people that are in their 40s and 50s right now. And that's a lot of living left to go. So thank you.
Yeah. And there's a lot of you that I know watch when we're doing this live or listen that you're like, I'm Gen X and you never talk about us.
Right.
Well, here you go. So here are the Gen X dating traditions slowly disappearing from younger generations.
Okay.
The thrill of the chase. This life and relationship coach knows about the added thrill was waiting for a call, wondering about the next meeting, or gently changing a person's character over time. However, younger generations routinely meet possible mates online ahead of time these days, therefore lessening the sense of surprise.
So they're saying get to the point? That's what people are like younger generations are wanting?
Well, that's
No,
what
no,
they
no.
do.
I think it's just the anticipation of not knowing about like when you're going to get a call or whatever. But I'm kind of thinking that is the same, but with different technology. Is that right?
No, I think it's a little because now it's a more immediate. Like when I think about when I first started dating in high school, like when I was on the websites and I wasn't out to anybody, and the first guy I really talked to, we didn't have cell phones, so we couldn't text. I don't even think that we were messaging on Instant Messenger. I think I met him in like a gay teen chat room or something.
Oh.
And then we met up in person.
Mhm.
But like there wasn't any contact throughout the week. Whereas like now, if you're talking to someone, you're always talking to them. You wake up to the good morning text, you get the good night text or how is your day going? And so you're always in constant contact with the person. Whereas
Mhm.
back then,
You weren't.
you would maybe talk to them on a Friday or, the weekend and then
Mhm.
be like, hey, let's check in throughout the week and see if we can go out again. But
Right.
otherwise,
But also you had to check in during the week while you were at home because
Right.
how else would you call them?
right. Because when you were at work, you couldn't just shoot them a text.
Right.
No, there was no texting. And
Right.
like, what are you going to call them at work? Like,
Right.
probably no. I mean, unless you were really secretive. So it's like you had to wait till you were at home and then get on the phone and then you could call them and then you could chat on the phone like all night. But yeah, there was a lot less way to get a hold of somebody.
I just thought about, like, how we do blown off, and sometimes, people are just a little too over the top. They're a little too excessive.
Mhm.
What that definitely was happening back then, but people were probably calling their jobs being weird and being like, I just wanted to talk to like,
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, I just thought about that.
But that's what you would do to get into contact with someone
Mhm.
is you would be like, oh, I know they work at, the Blockbuster. So let me call up there and see if Brian is work. I know he works on Friday nights and the bitch ain't called me all week at home. So
Right?
I'm
So
gonna
then
call
you would,
Brian.
like you would sit there and it would like ring and then like they'd be like Blockbuster and you'd be like may I speak to Brian please? And they'd be like, hold on, is Brian working today? Yeah, hold on. Can I ask who's calling? You'd be like, Kim? Maybe like, and then they would probably like be like,
You're like,
who's Kim? Oh, who's Kim?
I'm at
Like,
work right now.
Mhm.
like,
Please do not call me here.
can you imagine?
Ooh.
Because I
That is-
remember like when I first started working at Barnes and Noble, I was the summer after I graduated high school. So it was right before I went into college. And so I didn't have a cell phone. So that's how my mom or grandmother would get into contact with me is they would call
Mhm.
Barnes and Noble and be like,
Yes.
can we speak to Miguel? Now
Yes.
that sounds so
Miguel.
crazy.
This sounds crazy.
Your mom is on the line.
Your mom's calling. Your mom's calling you.
Oh, that's funny.
That
Yes, but
sounds
then
so
also
funny
when you
now.
were a kid, like you had to call your mom's work, and
Right.
it was always so just you would call and be like, your mom would tell you how to do it. You
Right.
say, "Hello, may I please speak with Margaret?"
Mhm.
And then you had to like pretend you were an adult as a kid, like they wouldn't know that you're
Right.
her kid.
Hi, can I
Like-
speak to Margaret?
My mom worked in an office with like very few people, so I'd be like, "Hello, may I speak to Margaret, please?" And the lady would be like, "Oh, Holly, it's Sue."
Yes. Oh my
I'll
God.
get her. And I'd
When
be
they
like,
know your name,
I know.
Yes.
And I
life
would be like,
story.
dang it.
Oh
I
my
didn't do a
gosh.
good job of pretending.
But I think that's also why like millennials, Gen Xers and older, we don't have the fear of calling. Now, not to say that people don't like to call or talk. I don't like to
Right.
talk on the
It's
phone.
not my favorite thing.
I'm a
Right.
FaceTimer. but yeah.
Right. You love the FaceTime,
I
girl.
do.
No, that is wacky. to
Anywhere,
me.
anytime.
There'll
No,
be so
thank
many
you.
times you have FaceTime me on the weekends and I'm butt ass naked in the
You
shower.
literally never answer.
And I'm like, nope, I will
I-
not answer.
I would never answer a random face call. I can't imagine
Those
the
are
time.
so exciting to me. Like,
Mm-mm.
yeah, you want a webcam?
That is
No,
the
girl.
difference in age between us because I feel like nobody my age would even dare to FaceTime you out of the blue.
No.
And we certainly wouldn't accept it. You know what I mean? Unless we're like, oh my God, maybe their house burned down. Like that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, the only time that people FaceTime me out of the blue, it's like people 31, 30 younger. Like Kelvin does it, and then our friend Carlos does it all the time. And I'm like, get out of here. I'm like, bitch, call me on the phone. I am
Right,
not
it's
answering
like-
this FaceTime.
If you need to speak with me, you shall call me. Why would you FaceTime?
Ooh, and then the one thing I hate the most when it comes to FaceTime is like someone will call Abe when like I've had my nighttime gummy and we are feeding, sitting in our, we always call it our trashy dinner table where we have like we raise the coffee
I
table
resent
up.
that.
Yes.
I resent that because I didn't call it trashy. until you started calling it trashy, and
Girl.
I refuse to call my own table trashy.
Our table is trashy as fuck. We said like last night we had tacos, so we had 2 plates of tacos, bowl of queso, 2 things of salsa because we like different salsa, a thing of queso, chips, all spread out on the coffee table, and I'm like,
And then when you were done, you belched, and then you just laid back.
And then
watched
we
a
like-
nice little
Yeah.
show.
And then-
I know
Wait,
you did.
and then
You
we
really
lower
did
the table, and then we just you lower the table after you finish feeding.
Of course.
And then-
Feeding.
Put your feet.
Feeding.
Ooh,
The
yes,
hippo with the
bitch.
zoo.
That bitch
That's
is
what-
always cozy. Ooh.
Wait, but do you clean it up?
Well, like so I always finish before Abe. And so like
True.
I sit back on the couch and I'm watching, I pull the cover up over me and he's still eating while the table's up. And so then it takes him another like 5 to 10 minutes and then he lowers it and then we'll watch maybe like once it gets to a stopping point, then we'll pause the show and then clean up the table.
That's what happens when you don't have a
That's
woman
my
in that
sister.
house.
That's
Cannot.
my sister.
I cannot. And honestly, it took me a long time to transition my family to eating in the kitchen because I can't stand eating in the living room. I hate it. Now, I made some exceptions, Miguel, when you and I lived together.
Right.
But even then I felt like if it's like a very lazy weekend, you don't need to know the backstory on my moving from the living room to the kitchen, but I do have one if you ever are curious. However, if we do ever eat in the living room now, I hate it because what do you do when you're eating in the living? You got to watch something.
Mhm.
Well, so everyone's got their stuff. Like I'm the one, by the way, Maya's like, Mom, can I get a water? I'm like, yeah, I get the water. I get down. Actually, can I get some ketchup? Well, okay, let me get the ketchup. And then, oh, while you're in there, can you grab my seltzer water? It's on the, yes. Okay, let me get, so I'm running back and forth to get all the things. And now we are set. I've got the table up. Maya's got the table up. Fiance's on his chair because we're not all going to fit at this table. So now I'm like, well, what are we watching? I don't know. And I'm like, I am hungry. What are we watching? What all the 3 of us can agree on? And then we got to be like, can we just put on the Food Network? Because I don't want to start a movie. If we start a movie,
no.
wait, listen, if we start a movie, then like, let's just say, oh, we all love Wicked right now. Well, let's
Right.
put on Wicked. No one mourns the wicked, good news. And then now we've all eaten and I finish and, we're off to Oz. And I'm like, pause. We're going to pause the movie because I need to clean this up. So do you all want to keep watching the movie? Oh, you're all going to keep watching the movie. I will clean up the kitchen.
No, that's
This
when
is
you
the scene from The Bear.
yes.
You're Jamie Lee Curtis.
She's like, God damn it. And then Holly
for other people.
drives the car through the
Yes. Yes. This is why moms drive the cars through the houses.
Shit.
No,
So I cannot stand by and allow there to be a mess on the table as we're all just still watching something. I can't.
No, but we clean it up because that's our thing is that like once we get to a stopping point and like once Abe is done, because Abe is also, I open my mouth and like the whole table just goes inside. Like
You're
I
like a
eat,
cartoon character.
literally. I'm just like whoop and I eat real fast.
You're the
but
Kirby.
yes.
That
I
little
just-
pink thing.
I just suck it all in like give me other food. Whereas like Abe, like he'll eat and then like he'll still have half a salad and then he'll sit back and then 10 minutes later he'll be like, oh, let me go back to the salad or whatever.
Could never.
This is a mess.
And so then like once I'll be like, are you done? He goes, yeah. Then I'll pause it and then I'll clear the table, put everything over. And then I come back down. And then once we finish that show, then I go to bed and then Abe cleans the kitchen from all the stuff while I'm asleep. So that's like, we have a very like, it's a workflow. But on the TV show, I literally have already picked out what show we're watching tonight because we just finished The Night Agent last night. And so I already have one on deck. Like that is the worst thing is to sit down and you're hungry.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to decide what to watch.
Nobody ever knows what we're going to watch.
Absolutely
we have
not.
a very difficult time figuring out what everyone can watch, wants to watch, is in the mood for, because I don't care. I just let me be entertained or whatever. So I never even have a thing. And now it's between fiance and Maya, and they go back and forth. And she never wants to watch anything because she can't sit through movies and whatever. And so then we just end up all getting mad. And I'm just like, that's why I'm like, put the Food Network on. That's our go-to. Put the Food Network on. Let me watch Guy Fieri make some shit. I don't know.
Normally, I'm the one that cooks. So then Oscar will be like, hey, can we play Abbott Elementary? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, I will not be concentrated. He's able to do that. He's able to be on his phone on TikTok and also watch and pay attention shows. It has been a journey of me trying to accept it, and I have now, but at first I didn't like it. But when it comes to me, I cannot concentrate. Like, I have undiagnosed ADD. So I tell him, no, put whatever you want to watch. When I'm done cooking, take that shit off, and then we'll watch what we want to watch together. That's one. Two, I always feel like Oscar is like an iPad baby. And so there have been times, like, I went in on him, not in a nasty way, in like a really great communicative, like trying to express my feelings and emotions in a great positive way. And I just like had it with his phone being out, and he was watching a show for breakfast. And I said, Oscar, no more. Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. It's my favorite time of the day. I never get to have breakfast with you. And it's Saturday. You need to put that phone down, and we are going to watch, or we're either going to talk to each other, because I do not see you throughout the week. And he was like, honestly, okay, I understand now. I get it.
Good.
So I don't know where this topic came from, but yeah, I don't really like watching stuff, because I've heard that the brain receptors, when you're distracted and eating, your body won't know. Yeah, you're just gonna keep eating. Your body's not gonna know that you're full. So I try to avoid that as much as possible.
Right.
Unless, I've smoked a little bit. Drag race.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Friday.
Well, that's a different.
Yeah,
That's a
chilling,
little
having
bit
a good
different.
time.
Yeah.
That's different.
It's a little bit
But
different.
other than that,
Yeah, I just find it so, well, I don't know, like, but as a mom, I'm like, we got to eat. Like, it took a while to transition, because there was a lot going on in my life, like when Maya was young. So I let her always eat in the living room, and I would kind of eat in the kitchen or in the living room, whatever's. But then once we got everything like solid, good, like everything with my mom, whatever, I was like, we got to start eating at the table. I'm sorry. Like,
it just brings you closer as a family. Like, I wish my mom prioritized that a little bit more. It would always be me eating by myself, and my mom would be cleaning the kitchen, my dad in the living room. And it wasn't until the pandemic, where we were forced to hang out with each other, that I actually loved having dinner or lunch with my parents. But I never had that growing up. So it's great you're doing that.
When we had roommates, like when our old producer Scott lived with us, and we had Dylan, like during that time, we would eat together. But I think because Abe and I, especially now that he doesn't like go off to work, where he would like come home and then I would be cooking and then he'd go shower, then we would eat. But like we cook together, or he's helping me, or he's usually making the salad. And so that's our like talk time, because then once the food is done, I'm ready to eat. Like, I'm ready to sit down, I'm ready to eat, I'm ready to watch something, I'm ready to be entertained. And so that's like sort of how we work, is that talk time is during the cooking process of like, how was your day? And let's unpack that, because I don't want to do that when we're eating.
I can't have talk time during food cooking time, because I am focused.
Yes.
I'm like, I need to chop. I need to get the recipe. I need to see how many tablespoons of olive oil
or the TikTok video and repeat.
Or the video, or whatever it is. I'm like, you do what you're doing, and I do what I'm doing, and we shall not be discussing. Then when we sit down, even if we're cooking, we're not eating in the living room. But if we order like Outback or something to go, and we didn't have to cook it, like, I will allow us, and this I'm talking about without Maya, I will allow us to eat in the living room while we're watching something, because who cares who made this food? And the food's not that great. But like, if I made something, we need to sit down and talk about, first of all, how good this is. Or if it's not, then, we feel a little bit of shame, and then we're very disappointed, and then we are not putting this on the menu ever again, things like that. So that's how we do it. It's weird.
So interesting. Everybody has a different way of how they do it. And like, even with Abe, I have to make sure, because like when he'll make the salad for both of us, and then he'll dispense it into the 2 bowls. And I usually just add like a little bit more pepper to mine. But then this bitch, every seasoning we have, I'll be like, girl, what is
What do you mean season? Like, I can see a little salt, but like,
no,
sodium.
He puts like thyme, rosemary. He'll have to tell you. And he loves everything
bagel
seasoning with no sodium. Like, his salads.
What kind of salad you making, by the way? What's in this salad?
So he makes from scratch Caesar salad, but like he chops up the lettuce and gets the croutons and smashes them up and get the shaved Parmesan. And so he makes it from scratch. And then he puts onions in it, and then I do mine, and then I just put a little salt and pepper. One day I'm gonna take a picture of it, because I'm always like, what is that? But it takes him so long that I'm like, you go first. Because that's the thing I hate, is to have all of my food at the table, and I've already picked out the show that we're watching, and then he's over there still putting every seasoning in his salad, and I'm like, Hurry up! I can't take a bite until the show starts. So
I get
anyway,
it. I know that wasn't the point. So
we
I
got
can
all
swear.
this about the thrill of the chase.
Yes.
I don't even know. I forgot what we were even talking about. I'm so sorry.
So we're talking about, if you just hopped in, dating traditions slowly disappearing with younger generations.
Oh dang! I'm sorry
To
about
our
that.
dinner routines.
Right? We got to the thrill of the chase. That's the one that younger generations don't know because of the immediacy of contact.
Got it.
Okay.
Another
Got it.
one, meeting someone randomly in a bar. This therapist, Gloria Bram, observes that Gen X daters tended to focus on finding a spouse or life partner in real life locations like a bar, club, or through mutual friends. Gen Z, however, has a more casual and flexible dating style. They never knew a time without the internet that makes them very comfortable having long online relationships before meeting. Texting is a comfort zone for them. Gen Z is overall far less marriage-minded than Gen X. Casual relationships and hookups are a fairly standard part of their dating lives.
That's weird though, because I recently read that of all the generations, Gen Z is having way less sex overall. They're
I
just
think
not into it.
For this may be more like millennials, because I feel
Mm.
like millennial culture was still very hookupish in the early
Yes.
2000s.
I'm just seeing what's happening now, and I'm like, everything is getting more conservative. Everything.
right.
But anyway, yes, I would agree with that 100%. Like, I don't even. It's just different. Technology changed that for sure.
I remember having a conversation with someone a few years ago that said, I don't see how you could meet someone like if you're talking to them on Hinge or Grindr, and then go to their house and meet up with them. What if they're a serial killer? And for me, who, even though I'm an elder millennial, because I'm gay, I've always dated online because I wasn't about to ask guys out in high school,
Mhm.
you know, or in college. And so I was online dating before it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I've always said that I know way more about someone when we're online dating and chatting and just conversing and not getting physical than if I just met you at a bar. Because at a bar, I don't know who the fuck you are. You can present yourself as one way for the 2 drunk hours we're together, and then I go back to your house and you're gonna kill me. Whereas opposed to online, I'm probably talking to you for a couple of weeks, and then we're texting, and then we're meeting in person. So that's why I understand that.
I disagree. I feel like you can catch a vibe with somebody in person and know that they're a little bit more of a serial killer. Online, like they could be whoever they can be behind a phone screen. I don't know. I feel like
think
you're
it's-
pretty good at picking up vibes too. So I don't.
I think it's dangerous either way.
Yeah.
Mm,
I
well,
mean, honestly,
you're meeting a stranger regardless.
You're meeting a stranger, and you just have to trust that they are who they say they are
Right.
in any scenario.
Real quick, happy birthday to Vanessa P. She said, I just wanted to say today's my 29th birthday, and I've been spending the last 10 birthdays listening to you guys since 2015.
Oh,
I
damn.
love you guys.
That's wild.
That is insane. Well, happy birthday.
Wow. That's crazy.
I'm
Yeah.
glad we could be there for you on your birthday.
2015 is when we started in Tampa. Wow. Happy
Oh my God,
birthday,
10
girl.
years of this podcast.
Yeah, 10 years. All right.
Anyway, that's great.
Here's another tradition that's disappearing. Believing in a rom-com type of love. The senior editor from some magazine says that Gen Z or Gen X grew up believing in instant chemistry and romantic love, which was often exhibited in the popular romantic comedies of the day. The honeymoon period became the definition of love, instead of love being the development of a deeper yet less exciting love that lasts. Television, music, literature, and Hollywood idols taught us romantic love makes the world go round. But younger generations now know that myth is untrue and see compatibility in values, politics, money habits, and common sense as more crucial to long-term love. Yes.
Damn, who taught them that? Because
I wish.
that's great. That's great. Well,
I
who
wish.
did teach them that? Because if Gen X is over here birthing these Gen Zers, who taught them? How
Well,
did they learn that?
Probably from their parents that were like, I was dumb thinking it was going to be like Love Actually when it's not.
Yeah, I know. I would totally agree with that. And I would say us elder millennials got sucked right into that whole
Oh,
trope.
yeah. My God. Like, I wish that there was some way for me to go back and read my old Tinder, Grinder, Yahoo
You
Personals.
were in, I remember that, Miguel.
Girl.
I remember that.
Reading the
Miguel.
bio.
I wanted
Miguel was absolutely
every
head over heels.
meeting to be like 27 dresses with Katherine Heigl and James Marsden for us to just like bump into each other, and then we hate each other at first, and then one thing happens where we have to work together, and then we both realize I love you.
Yes, Miguel. Like
Is
this
it
for real. Kismet.
Kismet. I wanted to be Kismet.
100%. I thought that way about sex too. I did.
Yes.
When like the first couple of times I ever had sex, I was like, what wait a second. Where's the music?
Right.
What we need to be, this has to be set the right way. Like I didn't understand that it could happen without it being that way. Like I was literally like, what do you mean there's no, like, somebody put the music on. Can we get them?
There's no slow kissing.
No. I just think that
Learned a
for
lot in college.
us that didn't have the internet like it exists today, that's all you had to depend on as your examples. So I always have told the story about how when I got to my 2-year college and how I was fucked because I thought all those fucking WB, Felicity, Dawson's Creek shows. I literally wrote an article in my 2-year college newspaper the first semester. I was like, where are the rolling hills of green where we're all sitting around reading books and discussing our childhood trauma and philosophy? I want that college that I saw on TV, not the fucking softball players getting drunk and calling me a faggot.
Save that.
Yeah.
Don't. It's 96.1.
Miguel and Holly.
But you know what? I did write a paper too. I wrote a paper. I didn't work for the newspaper, but in college, freshman year of college, it's like I realized at the time I thought I had a revelation that no one else had thought of. I was like, guys, Disney movies, they taught us wrong. I think they're wrong, you guys. I wrote a whole paper about it as a freshman, and I was like, that's going to be award winning.
Holly's like, I was the first one.
I think I got a C on it. Like, first C of my life. I was like, what do you mean? Now that, yeah, I really, the blinders had come off. I was like, what?
I think a lot of that too. I think just from like a son of an immigrant, you know, at least in my situation, I know there's others that are not the same, but my parents for sure got together out of convenience. And so that's what I was raised with. Like my dad got to do whatever he wanted and my mom just worked, cleaned, cooked, and that was love. And then when you add in being gay, but then also liking women too, and then all that confusion, I had no idea by the time I got to college. Like every time we do topics about exes, I'm like, what? I don't have any. I don't connect to love songs. I don't get heartbreak songs, I guess. I connect with love songs, but heartbreak songs, I don't understand that. So for me, dating too was rough.
It's so interesting how you have those examples like your parents or media that sets those expectations for you. Because I remember, I think it was my senior year of high school when we had cable and there were like a couple of like gay movies from back then. And there was one in particular where there was like sort of someone who I identified with who was like this sort of, you know, nerdy, shy person who just came out, and his gay best friend, Tori Spelling at the time in the movie, was like, maybe you'll meet someone like on the subway or something. And he was on the subway and he caught eyes with this guy. And then like they had this whole, like the movie played out with that night of them like hooking up and having this romantic thing. And I was like, every time I got on the MARTA in Atlanta, I would just sit there and with my eyes open and be like, anybody? Anybody?
No, I'm here with my eyes. You're lucky that nobody beats you up. You're lucky that nobody fucking
homeless person didn't come in.
Like,
right.
I was ready. Movies fuck you up.
They really do. God.
Ain't nobody look at me like that. I just had homeless people asking me for money.
I did have a guy one time look like that at me across like a frat party, and I was like kind of heartbroken of this other guy at the time, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting eyes at a And he was like older, and we ended up making out in the corner of the
Yeah.
frat house. Come to find out the next day, he just found all the new Alpha Z members and made out with all of them because that was his shtick. So I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Thanks,
What?
Felicity.
What? Yeah. Mike Brestol.
Oh,
It was.
she
Let's
said
look
his
him up.
last name was.
I
Let's
know.
find him. All right, let's roll through this. Here's another tradition that's disappearing for the young kiddies when it comes to dating. Seeing vulnerability as a weakness. Gen X grew up being told that being vulnerable made them weak when the opposite is true. Showing vulnerability is a sign of strength, and it's the only way to make a relationship last. Gen Xers weren't given the tools they needed to navigate having complex emotions, which means they went through life being fairly disconnected from their feelings.
Yeah.
As a result, their relationships weren't rooted in vulnerability, which is essential to keeping connections strong.
Man, no notes.
Remember, it was like a game back in the day. Like, don't show too emotion.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Like get them to get a little jealous just to show interest. All those fucking Cosmo top 10
Yes.
tips to get a guy.
Always the Cosmo with the tips and
I have a friend who lives out in the West Coast, and he is going through it with his dating situation. And it's been a while since I've given dating advice. Like, who the fuck am I to give you dating advice? I don't really have that much of a resume, but you know, whatever. I'm a little bit more social than this friend. And poor guy, like, he went on a date with a guy, got hot and heavy with him in the car because the guy wanted to. They were just supposed to meet for 30 minutes at a coffee shop. Ended up being 2 hours and a half. They had a really great time. Ended up making out hot and heavy in the car. And even the guy wanted to go back to his place with him. And he was like, no, like, I have the cleaners at my house. I have to work. Like, no, but let's hang out again. So whatever, they're texting. And all of a sudden, the guy's talking about how he's laying in bed and how he should be working. And my friend goes, oh, well, like, is there room for one more? And the guy was like, yeah, come on over. They hook up. I'm giving you my friend's business. But basically, they hook up. It's new. This was literally like 2-3 days ago. They hook up, and kid warning. I mean, you're on the Uncensored podcast. But basically, my friend couldn't finish the job. Let's just say that. He was able to perform, but not finish the job. And so after that, the guy and him have been very distant in speaking to each other. And then long story short, just to say this, the guy's not giving him the same energy back. Like, he's being like, oh, well, it's raining in California. Like, isn't it kind of nice? Cuddle weather. The guy's not really interacting with him or even trying to match his energy. And then I told him, I was like, at this point, why don't you just ask him what happened? Like, is he truly not matching your energy because you couldn't finish the job? Or is it because he's just not into you anymore? Did he just want to hit it and quit it? Like, we're in our 30s now. Like, no more times for fucking games. And I'm a big believer in closure. Like, say how you feel, say what you need to get out of your chest. Like, don't hold on to that. And I just told him, why don't you just ask him, hey, what happened?
Right.
Did
And I
he?
feel like that was not the culture, or I guess the dating advice that people would give back in the day.
Well, you didn't tell anybody. Like, if somebody
Right.
asked you, you weren't honest.
No.
And then if you felt like their energy was starting to sour, you would try to get in front of the story and be like, well, I'm not interested.
Or whatever.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you didn't want to be
Just-
vulnerable and be like, hey, I feel the energy's changed. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Did I do something? No, it was like, oh, you don't want to date me? All right, cool. Fuck you then.
Right. Or block. And that's
yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely.
For what? Close that book.
Is he gonna ask?
Oh, yes. Yes, he is.
Okay. we don't
Wait,
need to
I'm
follow up.
confused.
Mhm.
He didn't finish, or the other guy didn't finish?
My friend didn't finish
Finish his own.
He didn't
job.
get off.
He didn't
Right.
get off, correct.
Okay.
He's performing
Mhm.
just fine, but he
Right.
just couldn't finish
Could
the
never
job.
reach the top
Reach
of the mountain.
Reach the
But
top
I
of
was
the
like, that's
mountain.
such a weird reason to not want to continue talking to somebody. I feel like
Especially in a hookup like that, or
Correct.
like your
No.
first time when there's so many nerves.
There's a lot
But
of pressure.
right.
but I was just like, if I was the other guy and obviously the chemistry was still there, I'd be like, no, fuck that. We're gonna try again, and I'm gonna get the job done.
I
Right.
know.
But
or like,
he's
but,
not.
but
He's
maybe
not matching his energy. So I was
Maybe
just
he
like,
didn't.
ask him.
Maybe he's not interested. Like,
But see,
sometimes
that's
you
that
hook up with someone for the
vulnerable.
first time, and
We're gonna need an update on this one.
Yes,
we.
I need to know what it if he actually says something and if the guy responds.
he texted me and I told him about the vulnerable thing, like ask, like be upfront. And he was like, yeah, I'll ask this weekend. I like that. And I was like, okay, great. Then he texts me again last night and he goes, like, I definitely shouldn't try to re-engage after the screen recording I sent you, right? I should wait for him if anything. I go, no, he left you on red. Like, does not deserve a triple text. And he was like, okay. I could tell he's very down. Anyways,
I'm gonna need an update.
I'll get you the update.
So he hasn't responded to 2 texts, and now he's going to text again and be like, what
He
happened?
wanted to, and I was like, stop.
Well, we're not going to get to know then.
Here's the last 2 for the traditions that are disappearing.
Mhm.
Feeling like one person has to give themselves up. Giving up yourself in dating has gone away, says psychologist Diana, adding that other variations on this theme played out for Gen Xers. Bullet points. I can't be my real self in a relationship. I need too much. I have to do all the work to make the relationship happen. I'm losing my identity in this relationship. I can't speak my truth. I can't get what I need. I can't win with this man. I don't have any power in this relationship. This belief tends to create fears of being smothered or smothering your partner. Ultimately, this belief and the behaviors that it fuels can lead to a relationship where you don't express your true feelings and real wants. I 100% feel this because I felt like advice I used to get at the beginning of my relationship was, well, hold back a little bit at the beginning. Like, you don't want to give like all the crazy at the beginning. Whereas like with Abe is when he knew my crazy because we were friends before, but then there were like other little things that happened where like my true emotional, like you're my partner crazy came out. And at first I was like, ooh, let me pull back. But then I'm like, no, like if you're going to be with me, you need to understand that this is what you're buying into.
This chemical imbalance.
Do we need medication? Yes, but I do feel like sometimes that's still applicable a little bit. Like, I'd say it's about 50-50. Like, I do think that people hold back some of the crazy, and I think you should, I don't know. I don't know if that's the greatest advice to put all of it on the table first date, because it can be intimidating and it might be too much to process on a first date.
Correct. Because once you love somebody, you're just like, that's my baby. We'll work on it.
Right.
But that's my baby.
But he crazy. So.
Right. There's a different energy than meeting for the first time being like, fuck, this is a lot the first time.
Right. I don't think if you're like meeting for coffee with someone, you should sit down and be like, so sometimes I tend to lose my cool when things don't go my way.
Yeah.
Do you want a cookie?
This is not for me.
But I do think it is okay to, talk around it and like, you don't have to like pull out a bullet point and be like, well, here are all the things that are wrong with me. But if you're like, yeah, sometimes, if things aren't going my way, I can tend to be a little jealous sometimes. Like it's something I'm working through. If you make it a big thing, it becomes a big thing for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in those first few dates when you're getting to know each other, having those type of discussions, I think it's so valid. Or if you're in that, texting, because I would get into that too with a lot of guys when it was in that like 2 or 3 weeks of texting back and forth before we actually got to meet in person, where I'm like, well, we're beyond the like surface stuff. And now we're truly getting into our personalities before we meet. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, I do agree. I'm willing to be very honest because I would expect people to be honest with me.
Right.
I think for certain things, like I said, case by case basis, but who am I to talk? Because my second date was with my radio coworkers in South Florida with Oscar. Like it was Alpi's birthday in Miami Beach, and he met Kimmy, he met Al, he met all my other, like it was a lot, and Oscar handled it pretty well. So yeah.
And then here's the last tradition that's disappearing for younger generations: calling someone to set up a date. And now this is the author of this article speaking. I'm a geriatric millennial, and texting was still in its early stages when Gen Xers and I dated, explains deputy editor Andrea Zimmerman. We texted with people we liked, of course, but we knew someone was serious about us if they picked up the phone and called us to make a date. There's a certain level of effort that goes into working up the nerve to dial someone's number and having to speak to them one-on-one using your voice that's lost with texting. The casual flippant text takes such little effort, And let's not even mention the dangers of the copy and paste button. I'm team phone forever, and it makes me sad that it's a bit of a lost art on generations who, ironically, are on their phones all the time, concludes Zimmerman.
Yeah, I get it. I didn't, even in my current relationship, I think everything was set up over text. Like we did call at some point,
Right.
but the date had already been established.
Right.
Like, yeah. No, I don't know the last time I actually got called and asked on a date. It was all text.
Yeah, Oscar slid in my DMs. That's probably how we set it up.
Yeah, even with even with Chris, even with my ex-husband, like we met via MySpace. So
Hell yeah.
yeah. And that was all over MySpace too, because he wanted to he commented on a picture of me because I was new to Panama City Beach and I was eating an oyster for the first time in my life and I was not excited about it. But he's like, I'm gonna take you to go eat oysters sometime. And he was real cute. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Little did he know that I did not ever want to have oysters again. But that's okay.
Getting to know each other. Abe asked me out in person, actually.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he asked me out. So
wasn't he your employee at first?
No, I had contracted him.
Yes,
he was not my employee.
Well, you're contracted employee.
I had hired him to paint for me, and then he asked me out later that night. But we were drunk at the club, so that's a little different.
Yeah.
But he could have, because we had each other's number, so he could have easily just texted me, but he did it in person.
Yeah.
Good for him, because I don't even know what that's like.
Yeah, it was really weird because I was like, of course.
What do you do? You're like,
I was like, me?
You're like,
we were literally at Enigma on Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, Florida, and he said, no one makes me nervous, but you make me nervous. I'd love to take you out. He looked me dead in my eyeballs, and I looked behind me and said, who? You me?
Are you being for real?
I was like,
don't be fucking funny. That is not a good joke.
Girl, I already gave you the check. You got the money for the paint job. Why you trying to be funny?
This is a prank. Oh
no.
Oh, God.
Well, there you go. That was the 6 Gen X dating traditions slowly disappearing with younger generations. The source is yourtango.com.
Those are good for prep. I like Your Tango, that website.
Mm-hmm.
A good one.
So there you go. Holly, how can people find you on social media?
Radio Holly, of course, on Instagram and Threads.
Producer Kelvin?
At Kelvin Live, TikTok. I don't use Twitter. I kind of do, sort of, kind of. And Instagram.
Do you use Twitter for...
I do. I have an alt, but I don't post my stuff. I
What were
just
you about to
follow.
say?
I was gonna say poll. I do not post poll or hole.
No.
I just use it to gather content. What? What? We all do it.
Who's all?
I guess
Who?
women don't. That's so weird to me that women just don't like
Yes,
to
they
watch.
do. Yes,
not
they
all,
do.
though. I would say the majority of them don't. But I could be
Don't
wrong.
watch what?
Like they don't like to watch adult material.
I used to.
Yeah.
Not really. I'm not really into it anymore.
Yeah.
But I used to. It just depends on where you're at in your life journey. I don't know.
That makes sense.
I'm about to
yeah.
say, because I be seeing them women on Twitter, like, because, you know, the Twitter algorithm is not what it used to be. So the most random things on my alt pops up. And I'm like, why is Susie, I don't want to see that.
Like some women definitely do. But I would say probably it's not the majority of women on Twitter commenting for the polls and holes.
Right.
Say that.
Well,
you can find me on Instagram at Miguel Fuller, on Threads, which I'm slowly ramping up, and also on Peloton. Thank you so much. We'll see you here on Friday. Bye.
Uncensored.
Catch it on the iHeartRadio app or anywhere